Welcome to Wild Spirits Outdoors, the place for real hunting talk, tactics, and a few laughs. Now, let's dive in with your host, Brad Dijon.
Hey guys and gals, welcome back to Wild Spirits Outdoors. As always, I'm your host, Brad Dijon. And if you're listening on the day of the drop, today is Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. Man, we're 2 weeks into October already. It's crazy how fast this is going. Some great bucks have already gone down. I've seen a lot of people posting on social media some really fantastic deer going down. It's been dry. I don't want to say it's been super warm because we've actually had a pretty pleasant past week, maybe even a week and a half, at least in the area that I'm in. It's been quite pleasant. Today was actually one of the warmer days that we've had recently. And I think it only got up to like 68, 69 today, which is a little warm, but it was not intolerable by any means. The mornings have been phenomenal. We've had a couple of mornings breaking that 32, 33 degree range in the past week and a half. Evenings, it's cooling down very nicely. We had the hunter's moon, and with it came some east winds. Those are shifting, and I'm excited to see really in the next 10 days. I think things are really going to start to shake up and get quite interesting. Before we get into the episode, just a couple of things real quick. I know I bring it up every episode, and I think I've been talking about it now since episode 5, but merchandise is coming, guys. Bear with me. Still working out some of the designs, and I got to get everything the way I want it. I don't want to put out anything that's what I would consider to be poor quality, and I want things that they're cool. I want some cool shirts, some cool gear out there. So I want to make sure it's done right. So bear with me. That is still coming, and I really, truly am hoping in the next 10 days, to actually have some stuff to show on social media. To make pre-orders available. I don't want to just say, "Hey guys, here's pre-order. Trust me, it's going to be cool." I want to give you guys something to look at, see what it's going to look like, and then see if you're interested for a pre-order on some merchandise. So again, stick around. That's coming soon. Also, Wild Spirits Outdoors, as of this morning, has hit 750 subscribers. That's awesome. When I first started this back in July, I had no idea what to expect. I still don't know what to expect. I don't know. If it only stays 750 people, that's perfectly fine with me. I'm not doing this because I think it's going to be some kind of a get-rich business plan. I've said this before as well. I pretty much talk about hunting year-round. I'm just ate up with it. I love it. I love being outside. I love fishing, hunting, hiking, camping. Just enjoying this beautiful creation that we get to spend one life on it. So I want to glorify God in it, and I want to make the most of it while I can be here. So I just enjoy all aspects of the outdoors. So I want to bring that to as many people as possible. So for everybody that is out there that is a subscriber, I do greatly appreciate that. And I also encourage you to continue to like, follow, and share so that we can maybe introduce people that aren't familiar with the outdoor lifestyle to the outdoors as well. And then obviously, if you are in the outdoors lifestyle, I want to put some great content out there that's entertaining, gets you to laugh every once in a while, and educational, and maybe you learn something. And, feel free to comment on anything I post on social media. Drop a comment on the podcast, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, or podcast, Apple Podcast, whatever it's called. I can't keep track of all this stuff. But yeah, I greatly appreciate it, guys. And I apologize for not getting an episode out last week. I had every intention to do so. And then over the weekend, I found out that I had to make a trip to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for work. So I was not able to record. I should have recorded Friday, but I had some other obligations taking place. And then the weekend just got away from me. So I was going to record Monday evening for the Tuesday release. And unfortunately, I was not able to do so because I had to get on I actually took for those who aren't familiar with the state of Michigan, which is a pretty cool state. And obviously people are familiar with Lake Michigan, but there's a high-speed ferry that goes from Muskegon, Michigan to Milwaukee, Wisconsin called the Lake Express. I'm not sure how late into the season it goes. I think they're about wrapped up for the season, but being in the small town that I live in here in West Michigan, flight options for me are pretty limited. I've got a small airport in Muskegon, but typically for most flights, I'm flying out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and unfortunately, it's there were no direct flights from Grand Rapids to Milwaukee. And again, if you're not familiar with the state of Michigan, Muskegon, Michigan is basically right on Lake Michigan, almost directly across from Milwaukee. I think it's 68 miles from Muskegon to Milwaukee, something like that. It's not very far. It's definitely if you were to make that drive, if there was an expressway across there, you're talking an hour drive. But because there isn't, you've got a couple of different options. You can fly. That was what I was originally intending to do, but flights were really expensive, and I was going to have to fly into Chicago and then jump on another plane to fly, 30 minutes up to Milwaukee. Didn't really want to do that. To drive it was going to be, basically a 7-hour drive. Really wasn't feeling that. Um, Thought about taking the long way and going up through the Upper Peninsula and going around, but that was almost an 8-hour drive. And so I was like, wait a minute, I haven't taken the Lake Express in several years, but I wonder if they're still running. So I checked, and sure enough, they were. And for me to go across, it wasn't terribly expensive. So that's what I did. I took the Lake Express across to Milwaukee. I spent the week over there working, and then Friday morning, I took it back across from Milwaukee back to Muskegon. And the ride over was pretty nice. I think they were saying we had like 3 to 5 foot waves. I think it was probably closer to like that 3 foot range. Nothing crazy. Had a great ride over. It's cool to just be out in the middle of Lake Michigan and you can't see land anywhere around you. That's a cool experience. The ride home, on the other hand, they were calling for like 5 to 6 foot waves, and we were all of 6 foot coming back. It was just like rocking the boat the whole way across from Milwaukee back to Muskegon, and I tell you what, they were handing out the old bee bags, if you know what I'm talking about, quite handily. Shout out to the crew. If anybody knows anybody that works on the Lake Express, or maybe you work on the Lake Express, shout out to you guys, because I couldn't go around cleaning up other people's messes. Let's just call it that, the way you guys did, and do so with a smile on your face. I don't really get seasick. I was definitely chewing some gum. Let's put it that way. I just was chewing gum and trying not to breathe through my nose, because there was definitely a funk. There was a funk on deck. Let's just put it that way. A lot of little kids, and they were not holding down the lunch. So made it back across. Everything was good, but it wasn't the most pleasant ride on the way back. So, but I made it, and we're back, and now we are going into episode number 9, and it kind of comes at a great time, because last week I was actually going to talk about this, but now we're in it, so we can talk about it right now. Episode 9 is going to be about cracking that mid-October lull, as it's called. And if you've heard in a couple of the previous episodes, I've talked about it. I don't personally subscribe to an October lull. Basically, if you're hunting the same way you were October 1st, it's going to feel like a lull to you, because there's definitely a shift that takes place. We have that late September shift when the bucks are shedding velvet. Things change a little bit, and feeding patterns can change, especially like a year like this year, where we have just had a bumper acorn crop here in Michigan. the likes of which I don't remember the last time I saw a bumper crop like this. I mean, there are acorns everywhere. And, that means there's food in a lot of different places. There's a lot of oak trees in the state of Michigan. I'm surrounded by oak trees where my private property is. Um, a lot of the public land that I hunt has a lot of oaks on it. So there is an abundant supply of food in that late September. And it just gets to be more sporadic, I guess, is a good way to put it as we approach the mid-October point, because you know deer, I've heard the juries talk about it before, and it really is a great analogy. And I know they subscribe to the October Lull because like it is a thing. I mean, deer activity definitely shifts in mid-October, but the juries talk about green to green food sources. So deer are shifting off from some of that green food source that they're still targeting in early October, like soybeans, for example. All the soybeans around me now for about the past 2 weeks have pretty much turned yellow and then to brown. They're dried right up, so they are not attractive to deer right now. Now they will be attractive again later in the season. After things have gotten very, very cold and we've had several frosts, and the deer will go back to any standing beans they can find and hammer them. But when they dry out, they lose that palatability and that appeal to the deer, so they shift to another green food source, alfalfa, things such as that. Now, as we get into the second week of October, that shift is going to be more prevalent. They're going to continue to target acorns, but any standing cornfields that are still up and have not been cut are also going to start to provide some attractiveness to them, both because there's food in there and because of the cover they can provide. Specifically when we're starting to reach into some cooler temperature days. So when it comes to the mid-October lull, it's not that the deer disappear. So many times, and bear with me, guys, if you're watching or listening, I do have show notes today. I know last time I recorded I did not, but I do today because I want to make sure I stay on task. So every year you hear the same thing, whether you're, listening to podcasts or just, zombie scrolling social media. The deer disappeared, everything's shut down. It's, there's no deer to hunt right now, so I might as well wait, until the rut starts to pick up here in a couple of weeks. That is a strategy. I'm not going to say that it can't work and it's not going to be successful. I mean, everybody loves a rut hunt for the most part. I mean, there's some people who don't love the chaos, but I'd say the majority of us just love the chaos of a good rut hunt. I personally still, and I said this last episode and I'll continue to say it, I love October. I love hunting in October. So I don't subscribe to the lull because, to put it quite frankly, I'm not going to be hunting, same as I said last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm not going to be hunting my cherry spots this time of year. It's just, to me, really, unless there's a significant cold front that comes through in the first couple of weeks of October, I really don't want to hunt what I would consider on my my private property, or even some of the public areas that I just historically know when the best activity time is going to be on those. I'm going to stay out of those spots, but I'm not going to sit there and say there's no deer. I'm going to go to the deer. So when you hit mid-October, you're really going to start looking closer to some of that more traditional bedding area. You really want to start looking at that. Again, these deer are shifting patterns. The bucks they're really starting to disperse right now. That's another thing that can make it feel like they're disappearing. Because I've had bucks on camera that over the past 5-6 days I have not seen, and I may not see them again until November 4th maybe. But I am also starting to see. I've had 2 bucks show up in the past week, I believe it was 5 to 7 days. That I've never had on camera before. They came through one day and then they were gone again. So what does that mean? That means there's a little bit of a pecking order being established, and deer are moving off to different areas based on, if they're getting pushed around or they just want to go find something new. Again, they're still not moving significantly long distances, but the bucks they're starting to feel it a little bit. So they're traveling. Maybe they're putting on a little bit more distance. They're starting to work some areas and lay down some scrapes and just kind of let everybody know that they're in the area. So it can definitely feel like, deer that were there yesterday, you might not see again for a couple, 3 weeks. It's just the way it goes. In early October, we're focusing on whatever's green still, and we're focusing on acorns. Right now, my primary focus is going to be on acorns. Really right up through the rut. As we start hitting that first, second week of November, if you're hunting, say, private land, or you're hunting public that's got some food on it, food plots, I guess. Let's specify food plots. Come the rut, maybe I'll start putting a little bit more focus on those areas, because if they're congregating does, then obviously, when the rut hits, you either want to be in corridors that bucks are traveling looking for does, or you want to be in the vicinity of where does are at. So that's how things are gonna shift. But when we hit this mid-October point, again, I'm looking still at food, and I'm really focused in on acorns, and I'm starting to spend a little bit more time. Again, I'm not hunting my cherry spots, and I'm probably still, unless I've got, some really easy to get to spots on my private property, I'm really not going to be pushing in too hard on them just yet. One of the benefits, or I guess one of the crutches, depending on how you want to look at it, of having your own property and having the ability to run trail cameras is, trail cameras don't tell you the whole story. They don't tell you everything that's going on, but they do help me get a good idea of where and how far deer are moving. So on my own private property, unless something really starts showing patternability, again, I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time burning out my property. When I can go, hunt a lot of different areas on public land and be a little bit more aggressive during this October lull. You'll find that if you have spots that you can go to without fear of being too aggressive this time of year, and you can really push in on, tight to some bedding areas and get really tight onto some food, that, you're definitely going to risk bumping deer, but you can certainly still have some great opportunities to see more deer during this lull period. Let me take a drink real quick. I don't know why every time I record, I talk a lot at work, and I guess maybe I drink more when I'm talking at work than I notice, but I really notice it when I'm just sitting here by myself in front of a camera. So bear with me one second. A piece of ice. I already talked about that stuff. Let's move on to the next page, shall we? All right. So, it's October 14th. We're really starting to hit that. We're within a week, let's say, of that pre-rut activity. Scrapes are becoming really, really evident. I actually went out to my private property yesterday, and I didn't bounce around in there too much. I moved a camera, and I just wanted to check and see if my seed that I planted actually germinated, which looks like I'm going to be all right. I think rye is going to be my saving grace this year. Just the other stuff I planted just did not take. It's been so dang dry. But anyway, during this mid-October period, you start seeing the heavy scraping activity. I'm seeing sparring on camera, and it's becoming a little bit more aggressive sparring. You're going to see younger bucks probably more active than more mature deer are, and for those that are targeting the more mature deer, they're going to feel like they're not really moving, and they're kind of right. You gotta be able to get into where they actually are at. Otherwise, you do feel that that simmer down of activity that leads up to when things start to get really crazy. But more immature deer are going to be moving pretty actively. Again, the sparring, grape activity. I'm actually seeing some, year and a half, 2.5-year-old bucks on camera right now that are getting pretty aggressive towards does. Some of you may have saw I posted a picture from, I think the picture was from last week. I posted on social media of a year-and-a-half-old buck trying to mount a 2.5-year-old buck, and I got it on camera, which it was pretty funny. It's quite comical to watch that, but them young guys, they're fired up and they don't know what's going on, so they're doing some college experimentation. Let's put it that way. So, definitely seeing that younger buck activity. But if you are targeting, something a little bit more on the mature side, again, you got to be able to start moving into where they're currently at. It's kind of the calm before the storm. Those deer didn't disappear; they're just moving. So, unless you have a really, really large chunk of private land, I'm talking, 120 acres minimum, I guess, is what I would look at it as. Maybe some people disagree, but something that you can actually move around on and have multiple areas and try to target deer. I think you're better off either staying out if you don't have any place else to go, or going and finding some public where you can go in and get aggressive. You got to start thinking about how these deer are going to act with the hunting pressure increasing as well, and that's going to go not only on private land, but it's going to be probably more prevalent on public land, because I think there's a lot of people that kind of look at it like I do. If you want to go get aggressive, public land's the place to do it. Don't go getting aggressive on your 10 acres you have to hunt, or in my case 60 acres. That's not a lot of land to work with. So if you're in there and you're bombing through every bedding area, or just kind of throwing caution to the wind, you can burn out that tract of land quite easy. So with the hunter activity, that also can create pressure that can shift or subdue patterns as well. Rub lines this time of year, not really anything that I have any interest in. I think they're quite random. I personally think rubs, for the most part, are random anyway. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've seen plenty of what are called rub lines where you just see a buck has been walking, and every third or fourth tree he comes across, he's rubbing on. But there's not really any pattern ability there. And camera data, if they're running trail cameras, stuff you saw a week or 2 weeks ago, it's not going to do you any good today, or for the coming week. So again, like we said, we got to go find those deer. We got to find where they're at. So we're looking for, fresh droppings, fresh browse, or evidence of fresh browsing. If you do get a rain, which we still haven't got much of in quite some time, that's a great time the next day or two after that to be looking for scrapes. And you can get a really good indication on if they've been freshly worked since the rain or not. That'll give you a good indication that you're in the proximity of where these deer are. Definitely not the time of year where you want to just go, again, you don't want to just go hit a stand and just sit there. Unless that spot is the spot, you're just going in there to hunt. But you're really going to burn that spot out. So I'm not an advocate for going in and just sitting in the same spot over and over and over and over again, especially during this time of year. Now, what I am an advocate of, and we'll talk about in probably next week's episode, we'll talk a little bit more about rut activity. But when it does come time for the rut, so let's say probably like October 24th to 28th, somewhere in that time frame, I am not against spending, 7 to 14 days hunting basically the same stand pretty religiously. And there's different mindsets to go about that. And again, we'll talk about that in a different episode, because I don't want to talk about the rut right now, even though that's, everybody's a little rut brained, myself included. So we'll talk about that in probably next week's episode. But and we've talked about it when we talked about early October as well. Wind is still very, very important. Entries and exits, even when you're going in, and especially if you're going to be hunting your own private property, maybe hunting the fringes. Still got to be very mindful of what the wind is doing, not only when you're on stand, but really important when you're hunting your own private property, especially if you don't have a ton of property to work with. What the wind is doing for your entries and exits, because that can come back to bite you in the hind end. A couple weeks from now, if you're going in not paying attention to what the wind's doing, and you're maybe blowing your scent into some doe bedding areas or things such as that. So things we got to keep in mind of right there. Also, this time of year, this mid-October lull, as hunters, oftentimes we think about the morning hunt and we think about the evening hunt. Coming off this hunter's moon, I think over the next really, let's say 10 to 14 days, if you can get into spots that have, good acorn coverage on the ground, great time to maybe not hunt the early morning, maybe get in there late morning if you want, maybe like 11 noon, somewhere around there. Get in tight to those active acorns, and be ready for that 1 to 3 p.m. time frame. Really good chance of catching some deer getting up, moving in, browsing on some acorns before they go and bed back down. So let's say from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. can be a really good time this time of year during the lull to make that midday opportunity happen. So maybe sleep in, go in well after light, well after everything's likely gone and laid down for a little bit, and try to get in there before they get up again and go do some browsing. That's kind of it's kind of weird for me to say that, because again, like I talked about in the last episode, we have so few days to hunt. Anytime I have the opportunity to do so, I really want to be out hunting. But as we're getting closer and closer to, go time, the rut, what everybody's kind of geared up for, our Super Bowl or our marathon, whatever you want to call it, you want to start getting a little bit more tactical about how you're getting into things. And, that's where maybe sitting those midday, getting in later in the morning and sitting a midday and getting out of there again before, 3 or 4 o'clock, kind of unconventional, but a good way to maybe capitalize on some midday movement without risking any issues in the morning or, at prime time in the evening as well. During October, it's another good time to, perfect I don't want to say perfect, that's not quite the right word, but maybe pay attention to what you've been doing for the first week or two of season and what's working and what's not working when it comes to your gear. Maybe looking at becoming, or maybe not becoming, but perfecting maybe your mobile setup. Definitely, I still am a huge proponent of being mobile this time of year. Again, that's why I really would lean towards public land hunting. There's so many different ways to do it. I do it with a saddle, but you don't have to saddle hunt. I mean, Lone Wolf makes some really, really good lightweight hang-ons that can allow you to be mobile. Companies like XOP, and then we've got our saddle platforms, Latitude, Tethered. There's a lot of them out there. So I'm a huge proponent of being mobile. Also, this time of year, I like to start, really looking at mock scrapes and, taking advantage of those. even if I'm going out and hunting public land, oftentimes if I get into a spot that I like, maybe before I get up in my stand, I just quick make I like to make mock scrapes really big. I don't want to just make I don't want a little scrape on the ground that's the size of a piece of paper, right? I try to make them really big, something that stands out. Get all the leaves back so you're down to dirt. Those stand out, really, really well on a forest floor covered in leaves. You can see them from a long ways away. So mock scrapes is a good thing to think about this time of year and maybe implement as well. Man, I am tongue tied, but I like using rope scrapes. I did that video earlier this year where I put one out, but they can definitely really start to pay off this time of year. In fact, when I did go out and walk around my property on Sunday of this past weekend, I actually did set up another rope scrape, and I freshened up a couple other ones as well. Just I could see that there had been a little bit of activity, but they had some leaves covering them up, so I just opened them back up again. Hit them with a little yum yum juice just to kind of get them fresh, get them opened up, and I'm hoping here pretty soon I'll get some pictures on the cameras that I moved over. And that kind of leads into the next thing: trail cams. If you don't use them, nothing wrong with that at all. Like I said, on public land, I don't run cameras, but that doesn't mean that you can't run them and be successful with running them. Just every time I've ran them on public land, they always seem to come up missing or come up broken. So I don't really do it. But if you're into the, being a high tech redneck, trail camera data, it's not really I don't want to say it's going to help you now during the lull period. Really, you just got to get on the deer, which means you can't be lazy on location. If you really want to be out hunting this time of year, you got to just keep moving until you find where the deer are. That's really all there is to it. But you can start thinking about trail cams for the next couple of weeks. Let's say for the next 3 weeks, really. Not so much. I wouldn't say field edges, because I think field edges are just kind of an always spot for trail cameras. I mean, there's nothing wrong with throwing a camera on a field edge and just letting it run, basically throughout the duration of the season. But over scrapes, tight corridors where, maybe you can cover an entire funnel with a camera or two, you'll really start to see buck activity picking up on cameras here over the next couple of weeks. So it's a good time of year, if you are running cameras, to maybe move them into the scrapes if you have not already, or start really focusing on pinches, fence crossings, anything that's pinching deer movement down. The predominant downwind side of bedding areas, if you can get on that edge, you should be able to see obvious signs, maybe through historical rubs, things such as that, where you can get cameras set up on that downwind edge. And you're probably not going to pick a ton of deer activity up right now, but over the next 2 weeks, it's just going to continue to pick up. And, that's a good way to maybe maximize opportunity, because if all of a sudden you have a really nice buck show up, say again, October 24th, you get a nice buck that daylights at 2:00 in the afternoon. Well, don't wait. Get in there and get into that spot and give it a couple, 3 days and see if he does it again, because it's going to get very sporadic and chaotic, as the rut really starts to kick in. That spot can still be good, but if there's a buck you see you really want to try to get, that's a good time to try and go in and do it. Don't see him and be like, oh, that's a great buck, I'm going to wait 2 weeks to go in and hunt him. If he's there now, get in there, take advantage of it, and try to make it happen. Excuse me. Let me take another drink. So yeah, any other gear I want to talk about? Not really. Just temperature can be really weird this time of year. So a good layering system, if you're gonna go in the morning, it might be 30 degrees in the morning, and it might be 65 by midday, and then 40, at last light. So I like to use layers. I like to wear as little clothing as possible. Walking in, I don't want to sweat. I just want to stay comfortable. So have a good layering system. Think about how you're going to pack your layers in and out. Make sure you can access everything easily. Make sure everything's quiet. It's like you would prior to going into the season. But if you want to get in on those deer during this lull period, you just got to be willing to move in and keep pushing till you find the fresh. And when I say fresh, I mean right now evidence that deer are there. So fresh droppings, fresh browse sign, not old browse sign, fresh scrapes. We're not looking for old scrapes that have a bunch of leaves kind of covering them up. We're looking for wide open. They've been in here in the past 24 hours. That tells you that you're getting close to being in the right spot. So, if you don't want to experience an October lull, I guess the best way I can say it, and the best way I can put it is just keep moving until you find the deer. I want to take just a quick minute here to talk about something that I think can kind of translate not only into hunting but into life as well. And I said a couple weeks ago that I was going to do this more, and this will kind of be the first go at that. So, the mid-October time frame, really from like October 10th to the 20th, it can be rough. It can be hard to find deer. You just got to be willing to keep moving. It can test you. It can test your mind. Again, there's a couple different ways to go about it. You can kind of check out and just wait, or you can really get in and go after it. It's not going to be easy. It can definitely test your mettle, and it can see just how willing to persevere and to push through you can be. So, there's a great Bible verse that kind of ties into that, and I think can be applied to both hunting and to life as well. And that's Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That's awesome. That kind of encapsulates hunting season as a whole. But when you think about this downtime period of October, where if you only have one spot to hunt and it's not the spot, it's just going to be miserable. But if you're willing to push, you're willing to not give up, you're willing to keep pushing until you find the deer, at that proper time, you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. I saw that during my Bible study in the morning, and I was like, man, that's cool. That kind of applies to life as well as hunting. So I wanted to share that one, and it'll definitely hit you harder when you're sitting in a tree on October 17th. You've been sitting and staying all morning, and you haven't seen anything, let alone a squirrel, and you're just looking around and you're like, man, there ain't no deer. The lull is real, but it can be challenging. Just keep pushing. Again, if you have the ability to do so, stay mobile and just keep moving, and eventually you will run into fresh sign of where the deer are. They don't just get beamed up on a spaceship come October 7th and then reappear again on Halloween. They're out there. They're shifting. The deer are very mobile as well. And they're starting to expand those ranges, especially the bucks. They're moving further and further distances. Again, you might have one show up, or you've had one consistently all year, and then all of a sudden he might disappear and you might not see him again for 2 weeks. But that doesn't mean another one won't come through. You just got to be willing to keep pushing until you find them. Hunting's a game of patience, obviously. You got to be patient, but patience and passivity are two very different things. You can be patient and not be passive at the same time. I can patiently work in and try to find fresh deer activity. I can be passive and patient as well and just sit the game out until it's time to go. But I'm a gamer. When it's game time, I want to play. I don't want to sit on the sideline. I want to be in the game. So I'm going to always find a way to do it. And that leads me to to one more thing I wanted to talk about that I've talked about really since episode 1. And if you're watching on camera, you can see the 2 scars on my right arm from the surgery I had on my bicep tendon. That was in July. I go in. This drops on the 14th. So on the 15th, I go in and see my surgeon, and I'm really hoping that he, kind of clears me to start doing a little bit more activity, because, I've been really, really good about following the physical therapy instructions, and I've been very, very focused on rehabbing this arm. And the hope was come mid-October, they would, open my weight restrictions up significantly, and maybe I could start, using that arm a little bit more. And then the ultimate hope was maybe mid to late November, maybe I could start trying to draw my compound bow again. I don't want to wait till mid-November. So what I did is this past weekend, Friday, my wife and I went to an Eric Church concert, and on the way to the concert, I had reached out to somebody who was selling a longbow, and I went ahead and we stopped in there. I shot the bow. Now, if you've listened since the beginning, I first started shooting on a recurve. That's where I first got going with archery in general. But since age 12, I have shot compound. And I've always said to myself, at some point in time, I'm going to go back to traditional. Doesn't mean I'm going to quit using a compound. I mean, I love my compound bow. But I've always said at some point in time, I'm going to go back to doing it with a traditional. And with what happened to my arm, it kind of put me in a great situation to be like, I can't draw a 70-pound compound back, but I can draw a 45-pound longbow back. So that's what I'm doing now. I've shot. I put a post out yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. Over the weekend, Friday we went to Eric Church, hooked up the bow, went to Eric Church concert. Then the very next day we went and saw Brandon Lake and had a fantastic concert / church service, I guess I would call it, with about 13,000 people. And that was really amazing, just to have so many people together in one spot, praising, singing, worship. It was beautiful, and glory to God. It was a beautiful, beautiful concert. Now, that was Saturday night. Sunday, worked on the honeydew list, and I was like, all right, I got to shoot this thing. I got to see, I shot it a couple times when I picked it up, but I wanted to, really start shooting. So I shot about 50 arrows, and I got to tell you, it's really cool. And it's a great feeling to pick up a longbow if you've never done it before. This feeling of nostalgia, of primitiveness, kind of comes over you when you do it. And I started shooting just like 5 yards away from the target because I didn't want to miss the target. And I was grouping those really, really tight. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna back it up to 20. And it took me a couple shots to kind of find my frame of reference. You're not really aiming, it's like throwing a ball. I mean, when you throw a ball, you're aiming, but you're not, aiming to throw the ball. So after a couple shots, I kind of found, where I felt, I had to be to trust it. And the group's tightened down pretty quick. And I was, I'm not saying I'm, shooting aspirin out of the air or anything like that, but I tightened my groups down to where I didn't want to shoot more than 2 arrows at the target at a time. But I was getting those arrows inside of like a 6-inch group at 20 yards. And I'm like, man, that's awesome. So my goal now is Halloween is my target. So my goal is to be hunting on Halloween with that longbow in hand. And that gives me about 15 days, 16 days, something like that, to just continue to shoot. And what I will not do is, if I cannot consistently, 10 out of 10 arrows, 15, let's say 20 yards in, but really 12 to 17 yards is kind of my goal. If I can consistently put arrows inside of a softball, at that distance, I'll feel confident enough that I can go out there and try to get something done with the longbow. So that is my goal. I'm hoping to have a great episode to talk about my first hunt of the season being on Halloween this year. And that's kind of my spiel today. I know I kind of was all over the place. It was a little disconjointed. Mid-October is just that way. I just wanted to talk about it and just wanted to remind everybody that, again, you can sit the game out. You can ride the bench until it's time to get in the game, or you can go out and just be a starter from the get. And that's how I want to hunt. That's how I encourage other people to do so. We don't have a lot of time to hunt, and tomorrow's never promised. So if you're into it, you love hunting, try to take advantage every chance you can to get out there and do it. And hunting all phases of the season, you can learn so much about deer, whether it's early season, the October lull, the pre-rut, the rut, post-rut. There's different aspects of it throughout the entire season, and there's so much out there that you can learn and enjoy. So, I guess my takeaway, or what I want to present to you, is that no, big picture, I do not believe in an October lull. You just got to be willing to put the work in to go find where the deer are and just get after it. Like I said at the very beginning, every year, we hear the same thing. The deer are gone, too warm out. I'm going to wait for the rut. Meanwhile, I'm telling you right now, and if any of you are on social media, you're seeing it for yourselves. The guys that are out there and doing it, they're having some success. So take that as you will. But if I had the capability to do it right now, I would certainly be out there hunting and, pushing in until I could find where the deer were at. Don't wait for the magic. Make the magic happen yourself. That's this week's episode. I think next week we're gonna talk maybe a little bit more about pre-rut / rut. That can be a wild time, can be fun. So yeah, I'm excited to do that, and I'm hoping to be able to continue to shoot this bow, and I'm hoping for good news tomorrow from my surgeon. So appreciate any prayers out there, and I will give you guys an update in episode 10 as to how things went with my meeting with the surgeon. So stay after it, shoot your bows, be ready, be aggressive, go find the deer, and don't be discouraged if you don't make it happen. Just be blessed that you got to be out there and experience it, because here in a couple of weeks it's going to get wild, and it's still the time. I love all aspects of hunting season, but I love the chaos of the rut. You just never know what's going to happen. A buck you never have seen before might show up out of nowhere, and that's the allure to it. It can be a great time. It can be fun. It's fast paced. The action's oftentimes, throughout the entire day, whereas, this time of year, things can be really, really slow. It's easy to lose your edge. Just go out there, have fun. Shoot your bows, like I said, guys. Stay safe out there. Wear your harnesses. Straight arrows, everybody. This is Wild Spirits Outdoors. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to Wild Spirits Outdoors. We appreciate you joining us on this journey. Don't forget to like, follow, and share wherever you get your podcasts. It helps us grow the tribe and keep on chasing the wild. Stay connected with us on Facebook and Instagram at Wild Spirits Outdoors, and also on YouTube at Wild Spirits Pod. You can also head over to www.wildspiritsoutdoors.com for more content. Until next time, chase the wild, feel the spirit,